There's nothing good about being weak. You're only dangerous to yourself, your family, and the people in your community when you're weak. We invest in companies that increase capability around lethality and survivability. Now, we do lethality not because we're especially bloodthirsty, but because you don't stop the enemy with harsh language alone. You need a robust man carrying something heavy. And we back people who make heavy ththings. We don't want to see any of these things used. But the reality is that soldier sales and airmen are about to need a lot of these tools. If for that not to be the case, we need better politicians and diplomats, to be honest. But we're entering a very uncertain time with respect to geopolitics, playing it every day in the Strait of Hormuz, let alone what's going to happen in Taiwan. So we're selling into that space. We've got 6 portfolio companies so far, another 300 DD at the moment.
All Australian?
No, we can invest up to 20% of our capital offshore under that scheme. And we have 2 US businesses. We have a long range artillery business. So they put a ramjet motor in the front of an artillery shell, and you can yoik it 150 kilometres instead of 30 kilometres. That's sort of handy. That's a bit delayed at the moment. The testing range of that business is in Jordan, so we can't get people there to test at the moment, which is anyway pretty funny. And then the other one is a counter drone, so it's actually an attachment for a soldier's rifle to allow them to shoot.
Like a drone shield type?
No, it's an attachment for a soldier's rifle to allow them to shoot drones out of the sky.
How does that differ from the drone shield product?
Drone shield is soft kill, so it uses jamming and other.
So this is using a kinetic force, like basically it's.
If you've seen these Israeli use the Smash, the Israeli smart scope.
You hold the trigger and then you get the first shot off or something, and then it mediates when the next rounds are fired.
Different mechanism, but similar outcome. Yes.
What are your views on drone shields being obviously somewhat market darling / controversial? It's still valued at like $4 billion, $5 billion somehow. Like, are you bullish on that business?
Look, I like the drone shield business. I think I come from the kinetic side of defence, where I know that's not really a solution. It's part of the layer of solution, but right now in the conflict in Ukraine, for example, you're now seeing fibre optic tethered drones. So you're seeing drones with a 30-kilometre spool of fibre going behind it, which only weighs 3 kilos. So is unjammable, essentially. So in my world, I'm like, well, unless a soldier can use a tool 7 times out of 10 and it works, they're going to drop it.
Well, that's a great point, because the drones that are being fired by Hezbollah into northern Israel now are fibre optic cable-based drones. They're very, you don't really hear them. They're hard, you can't jam them. They're very hard to get rid of. And so you mean kinetic as in like F equals MA, like there's force because there's something that has mass and it's accelerating, or it has velocity and it hits something.
Yeah, well, the general counter drone solutions are generally broken down to soft kill, which is jamming essentially, and then kinetic or hard kill, which is shooting it out of the sky, putting a big smoky hole in it, basically. Yeah. So there's only guaranteed way to stop it.
Yeah, and so it's this fund is controversial. Because I'll say something controversial and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because people like to think we can talk our way through everything and be gentle and don't realise if there are bad people with weapons trying to hurt us, then we need good people with better weapons and training stopping that happening. And people don't want to accept that reality of Western civilization. I've said it in a big way, but that's effectively the pushback that this
very much so. I think we should prevent. If we can actually be dangerous enough to our potential opponents, then we can prevent it from even starting, which is the best way, because nothing could come. I'm an ex-soldier. You never find a bigger pacifist than an ex-soldier, or a father, for God's sakes. So yes, but people have the perception that if we don't participate in defence, then obviously we're kind. But you're just weak. You're not strong.
Yes, you're weak.
You're just weak. So, and there's nothing good about being weak. You're only dangerous to yourself, your family, and the people in your community when you're weak.
And do you feel have investors? Because if you have gambling, for example, some investors, they're not mandated to invest in gambling, or they won't invest in gambling. Do you think this makes it harder to attract investment?
Oh yeah. Don't put the word lethality in your mandate. None of the wives let their husbands invest. Yeah. So. At the same time, I think that the West has experienced a little bit of a crisis of confidence the last few years, because we refuse to have tough conversations and we use way too many euphemisms. If there's a really good company here in Melbourne, talk about euphemisms, they make a cardboard drone called SciPac Systems, right? And the way they marketed it to the Army was it would take 2 kilos off humanitarian payload. I'm using air quotes for everyone on the podcast. 60 kilometres. Humanitarian payload is explosives.
Yeah.
But the Army wouldn't touch it back then, unless it was called humanitarian payload.
Well, if you bomb terrorists, that is humanitarian.
I think it is as well. So I think we're in trouble because of euphemism. So the name of our business is called Beaton Zone Venture Partners. Now, this is a business. I'm out to return multiples of invested capital to my investors. That's my only task. People confuse a bit of patriotism. I'm also a patriot, but it's not what it's about. It's about money. So if we get that right, we can return a lot of cash. But I'm not going to stand behind these people. So the companies that we back over the years have taken a lot of social flack for what they do. Like our business, we couldn't get from Air Wallets, we couldn't get credit cards because we were involved in defence.
Really?
Like, a lot of these businesses...
I'm surprised Air Wallets were that bothered by it.
They're very bothered by it. So a lot of these businesses... when they first start, they have to bank in their own personal names until they get like a contract with the Commonwealth.
It's actually crazy.
Insurance is almost impossible to get. So I thought, look, if I'm going to actually do this, I'm not going to stand behind this. I'm going to stand beside them. So beaten zone's a military term. It's a spot in the battlefield where all the bullets land.
Right.
Like there's more lethal places you can be, but not very many.
I see.
But we're not going to hide. This is what we do. If you don't like what we do, fine. Just keep walking.